Welcome to the Reconnection Club podcast, the show that helps parents heal troubled relationships with their adult sons and daughters. I'm your host, psychotherapist Tina Gilbertson. Each week, I'll offer you compassion, clarity, and personal development tips designed to help you reconnect, not only with your child, but with yourself. Now let's get started. As a culture, Americans have always valued independence. We don't tolerate its opposite very well at all, except for babies and people who are genuinely incapable of caring for themselves. Independence is the American ideal. It's considered a central task of parenting. Good parents are supposed to encourage independence in their children in age-appropriate stages until they are completely self-sufficient. An independent young adult is considered a parenting success. And yet, at the same time, one of the most basic needs that we all have throughout our lives is to be able to depend on someone other than ourselves. This human need begins but doesn't end in childhood. Children who can't depend on their caregivers don't thrive, physically, mentally, or emotionally. In extreme cases, they don't survive. Adults also suffer when we have no one we can depend on in our lives. Where there is too little capacity for dependency, we might develop a kind of fierce self-reliance out of necessity, but that sometimes comes at the price of keeping others always at a distance. It's only by being able safely to depend on other people that we lay the groundwork for meaningful independence, the ability to joyfully, willingly, and skillfully depend on ourselves. When our dependency needs are sufficiently met, two things happen. One, we know how to rely on ourselves when needed, and two, we know how to receive and give help and nurturing. In other words, we can experience the deep joy of interdependence, a life-affirming interplay of mutual dependency and independence. The complementary relationship between dependency and independence is complex. It's no wonder many young adults struggle with ambivalence about depending on their parents. Like the rest of us, they need to be able to depend on someone they can trust. But they also need to be able to rely on themselves as adults and possibly one day as parents to small children who will depend for a time entirely on them. It's big stuff. When children start to move from adolescence into adulthood, it's as though they're stepping onto a boat that's slowly leaving the dock. For a time, they've got one foot on the boat and the other on the dock. They may want very much to find out where the boat is going, but they may also feel afraid and need reassurance. At a certain point, they have to decide whether to stay on the dock as a dependent child or get in the boat and sail into adulthood. While your young adult is grappling with that transition, if you're not sure what to do, try to uphold both their need for independence and any continuing dependency needs. They're both appropriate and necessary for emotional well-being. Your child's ability to depend on you emotionally and otherwise will help them form well-functioning, interdependent relationships with other adults. If your adult child seems to have decided to stay on the dock forever, at the risk of overextending the metaphor, there will almost certainly be other boats leaving in the future, new opportunities for them to set sail. Life never stands still. But if it feels like there's some stuckness in the situation, one thing you can do that might help your child is to privately assess your own dependency needs. How well is your need to be able to depend on others being met? Who can you safely rely on for support, understanding, or a ride home if you're stranded? Parents whose dependency needs are not sufficiently met may, in some cases, unintentionally contribute to dependency problems with adult children. On one hand, they may unconsciously hold on to an adult child who is struggling to become independent, or on the other, they may insist on independence before the child is ready, mistakenly believing that dependency has no place in the life of a functioning adult. Both of those parents may mean well, but might be unaware of the influence of their own unmet dependency needs. So I invite you to spend a minute or two today to think about your needs. Where does your need to rely on others show up in your life, if at all? If you don't depend on other people for much of anything, when did you decide not to? If you feel very dependent, currently who, other than your child or children, is your greatest emotional support? Finally, what might you need from that person that they would likely be willing and able to offer? Self-sufficiency is valuable. There isn't always someone to come along and rescue us if we get into a jam. Being able to rely on oneself is undoubtedly a strength. But being in a partnership, group, or community that is stronger together than any individual is also valuable. Genuine connection includes receiving as well as giving, being helped as well as helping, depending as well as being depended upon. Both independence and depending on others are values we can hold. We don't have to choose one over the other. In fact, we can think of them as two sides of the same coin, and therefore they're meaningless without each other. If you or your adult child is struggling with the interplay of dependency and independence, maybe try to meet whichever need seems stronger in the moment, with the assurance that the other side of the coin will also assert itself in time to right the balance. Both dependency and independence are innate human needs. We have an inborn drive toward both. We need to be able to move comfortably back and forth between them throughout our lives. If you've been watching for signs of independence in your adult child, keep an open mind, because baby steps toward independence might not look the way you thought they would or would like them to. You might decide to consult with a local family therapist to help you gain clarity. I'll put some links to therapist directories in the show notes. Reconnection Club members can discuss this and every episode in our community forums at reconnectionclub.com. Until next time, remember that you are a loving, lovable, and still growing human being. So please take good care of yourself. Bye for now. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Reconnection Club podcast, I invite you to check out reconnectionclub.com. The Reconnection Club is for parents at any stage of estrangement from their adult, child, or children. So whether you've just realized there's trouble between you, you've been living with estrangement for years, or you're newly reconciled but still walking on eggshells, the Reconnection Club is your essential resource for information, support, and continued personal growth. With our courses and workshops, expert interviews, monthly Q&A calls, and a friendly, active community, the Reconnection Club is a wonderful place to be for anyone suffering the pain of estrangement from an adult, child, or children. So check it out at reconnectionclub.com.